Welcome to the March 1st, 2022 episode of Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And we have another wonderful show here. A lot of big news, actually. And not the big global news that you are worrying about. But, yes, a lot of big video game news actually happened this year, or this week. So
It did happen this year, though.
did happen this year. Yeah, I think the first thing that we have to address is the release of Elden Ring, probably the highest most anticipated video game of the year.
Isn't that amazing, by the way? Like, how far FromSoft has come from being, I guess, the Armored Core people to I don't really care to
more like the Kingsfield people. That game was a fucking joke. Like at GameStop when I was
what people
there.
liked was the Armored Core stuff, if they liked it at all, and then it's just like there's nothing. And now a Souls-like is like the coolest thing. Well, a Souls-like. Well, I guess it is. It's not a Souls game.
It is people are considering it a Souls-like. It has Souls. It's similar gameplay to Dark Souls.
I'm sure it does. Yeah.
I still know very little about it, including gameplay.
I've actively avoided it.
I've avoided almost everything about it. All I wanted to know is whether it was good or not, and apparently it's stellar.
Yeah, people are flipping out about how good it is, which, like, I know that Dark Souls has its fans, but, like, everybody's raving about how awesome this is.
Apparently this is a lot more accessible on top of everything, too. So, apparently this is something for everyone.
Yeah, well, I heard someone say, like, picture Breath of the Wild, except, like, FromSoft made it. Like, oh my god.
I mean, Breath of the Wild is already considered, by at least one relevant publication to be the best game of all time, so... I mean, that's high praise, high comparisons. So
yeah, I mean, I'm assuming they mean open world. I doubt you're going to be like making food and finding Koroks, but still.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's crafting and other things involved, of course.
I hope to God there isn't.
I'm sure there's elements of that. I'm sure you have to go around collecting things to make other things. I mean, I'm sure that's a thing. I mean, that is something that people like.
That would be a first for FromSoft.
Yeah, well, I mean,
kind of, unless you count Titanite for upgrades.
I was just gonna say, you have been going to the blacksmith, so anyway.
Yeah. Although, I will say, by the way, speaking of Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring,
yeah,
how fucking atrocious is Guerrilla Games' luck with the Horizon releases?
Well, the thing is, they are well aware of when their competition is releasing games. So
then why would they line it up with it? What the hell? Like, they're gonna put Horizon Zero Dawn, an unknown game, up against Breath of the Wild, one of the most anticipated games ever, and now they're doing Forbidden West, just a couple days before one of the most anticipated games ever.
See, I don't necessarily consider another big high-profile video game as competition. I know it sounds weird.
Well, people are going to buy both games, but which are they going to play first?
Well, what I mean is people may buy one while they are buying the other. So
yeah, I mean, but like the thing is though, like at least against Breath of the Wild, that was a Nintendo-only game, and Horizon is a Sony-only game, so there's no overlap there. Like,
apparently the new Horizon game is just fucking fantastic as well.
I look forward to playing that too. I love me some Horizon. But Elden Ring's on everything but Switch, and Horizon, I believe, is Sony exclusive again, although it'll probably get a PC release in 5 years like last time or whatever it was.
Yeah, eventually. But, I mean, the original Horizon was just so much fun.
That game was amazing.
I loved fighting like the hordes of robots.
Machines!
Yeah. Machines! But yeah,
dude, it's just DLC a bunch of robots.
the DLC was really fucking good too.
Yeah, it was.
I really enjoyed getting the power armor too. Eventually, at the end of the game, oh my god, that was a lot of fun too. So, I think it's I don't know. It might be their tactic. Maybe they felt like they had increased sales because of what happened last time. I don't know, but
That's a weird tactic. I guess if the numbers worked, because I don't know what they are, but like that seems really bizarre to me.
And Breath of the Wild was similarly really sought after. Like that was a game that people were really really looking forward to. So, it's funny because you have to tell other people like why this is relevant. Like it's just like, what if George R. Martin and like the most underground turned AAA publisher combined their forces and made a thing.
Like that's insane.
Yeah. So we're obviously excited for it, but don't expect us to talk about it immediately because, of course we kind of wait for us to get to things. So
yeah, I'm probably gonna wait for a guide when I let's play the game. There's a chance I might stream a little bit to test it out. Well, we'll see.
I'll remind everybody that for Lotus to buy a game at launch time, it takes quite a bit.
Here's the funny thing. Yeah. I was going to wait. The thing is with FromSoft Souls releases that I care about, it's kind of a crapshoot as to whether they get a complete physical edition later.
Yeah.
The Souls games eventually did. Sekiro did, but only in Japan, so not in the US.
Doesn't count, yeah.
Bloodborne did, but not in the US, but it was in English, so I imported a copy. Elden Ring, who the hell knows? That game came out at the time of this recording today. The reason I pre-ordered it, here's the funny thing. I pre-ordered it yesterday. And the reason I did that was because it came with like a cool poster, and I was thinking to myself, do I want the poster? And then I realized Demon's Souls had a poster, which I didn't know about until like a year or two ago. And it's extremely hard to find now because it was a promotional item for a game nobody looked into.
Who was offering the poster? I got mine from Amazon and I didn't get a poster.
For Elden Ring, you mean?
Yeah.
GameStop.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and they also had a little bag with a ring in it, which it's novel, but I don't really care.
I wish I had pre-ordered it at GameStop. That's a shame.
Yeah, and as usual, there's a super big collector's edition for Elden Ring. But again, as usual, despite my love of FromSoft, I did not opt for any of the Souls collector's editions because they all have giant fuck-off statues that make it like hundreds of dollars, and I don't want it.
Yeah, usually the stuff that both Lotus and I are into are like soundtracks, a map, and maybe an art book.
Yeah, and especially with FromSoft, like maps would be so cool.
Those are typically the things that attract us to something, and if you have much else that's inflating it above that, we typically stay away.
Yeah, remember Dark Souls 3? Like, it's $500, and I don't mean now. Now it's probably like over $8, but like it was $500 just to pre-order the collector's edition for Dark Souls 3 because of that giant statue. Like, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I don't want that.
I mean, it's cool. It'd be cool to have it, kind of, but I don't have room for it, and I'm not spending fucking $500.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth it. We are looking forward to this game. We are looking forward to playing it. I do have it in my hands. I just, I worked all day and I haven't had a chance to pop it in yet.
You know what I kind of like? Is how FromSoft obviously references FromSoft all the time.
Sure.
I like that the cover art, like all the ring-looking designs, it kind of reminds me of the Nexus from Demon's Souls.
Yeah. Somebody did like a kind of like a I guess a Photoshop of Eternal Ring and labeled it Elden Ring.
Oh God!
Really
Not all fantasies are final.
Oh, God.
That was FromSoft really biting off more than it could chew. You're gonna square off against like Final Fantasy X.
I almost wonder if they'll have some references to Elden to it in there because it does have a similar name. Yeah. So.
I mean, I'll look into it. I mean, Eternal Ring was basically Kingsfield except not Kingsfield, and there was a big focus on rings. That's, to this day, the only... Well, I guess I'll look into Elden Ring. But as far as I know, to this day, the only FromSoft game where you can wear not one ring, not two, not even three, like in Dark Souls 3, 10 rings. Because you had 5 magic spell rings and 5 stat rings, like
Who
one for
wears
the
a thumb ring?
you have 5 digits per hand, Vice. You gotta wear that thumb ring.
A thumb ring? Nobody has a thumb ring on. Come on.
Well, you know who does? Your character in Eternal Ring.
You can't even like use your thumb like all the way. Like
it's fine. You totally use your thumb all the way.
God.
Oh, by the way, you know what was kind of funny is Eternal Ring did not have the Moonlight Sword. It had the Eternal Sword.
Oh.
All right. Sure.
But yeah,
I will laugh so hard if Elden Ring like is secretly like Eternal Ring 2. It'll be just like, Nier Automata. Everyone's like, oh god, I gotta go back and find fucking Drakengard to understand this. And then they're like, oh, this game isn't fun.
Yeah,
no. Just
thing. Watch it on YouTube. Just
watch my stream of Eternal Ring. I did that already.
Yeah. One thing I did want to say real quick is Digital Foundry did talk about the different versions of the game. So of course you have PC and the Xbox versions and the PlayStation versions. There are this is a cross-generation, cross-platform game. So, but they said that the one that apparently the PC port is the worst. So as of right now, as of this recording, stay away.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it improves. Like when Dark Souls 1 came out on PC, that was like an embarrassing disaster, and it was made into the best version like within 24 hours.
Yeah,
by a fan though, but yes.
And then they implemented the fix.
Yes,
but anyway, it'll be okay because this is too high profile of a release for them not to fix it. But
I really hope Future Press does a guide for this.
Yeah.
I'm still salty that
Future does make the best ones. Future
they
does
do.
Make the
I'm
best
still
ones.
salty that Prima took over for Dark Souls 3. Like, God only knows the reason for that. I would love to see Future Press do Elden Ring, and this is a slam dunk guarantee to never happen, but go back and do Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin, because their Dark Souls 2 guide is largely irrelevant.
Yeah, because of the all the additions that were made.
It's the early version of the early version. Like, Scholar of the First Sin changes way too much.
Yeah, it completely remixes the game, right? But I actually just dug out my Future guides. They were in storage and at my parents' place. So now I have my Bloodborne Future guide and
there you go.
And they're beautiful.
I have most of them. I don't have the original version of the Bloodborne guide. I have the revised one, but like that's what you need. Like, unless I'm really anal, I gotta have every version of the guide too.
Lotus, I have the OG Demon Souls guide that came with the original LE.
Yeah, that's not Future Press, but that is the one Souls LE that I would like. But for my Future Press guides, I actually have like a sweet deal. Although one of them I had to pay eBay prices, which are not as bad now, whereas not as bad then as they are now.
Yeah.
But I got the Dark Souls 1 guide twice because they eventually released a revised version that included the DLC, so I definitely wanted to get that version. That came out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. I got the Dark Souls 2 guide, which was like $15, $20 because it's so irrelevant now. Dark Souls 3 they didn't do, very unfortunately. I got Sekiro, Bloodborne, and they did a separate physical guide for the DLC for Bloodborne, the Old Hunters.
That's awesome.
That's the hard one to find. And and they did do you remember when Japan released the collector's edition of the Dark Souls trilogy?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
America didn't have that. Europe had a collector's edition. Japan had like the big one that was like $500. The only things that it came with that I cared about were cool looking bookends, which I actually later bought separately. And 3 books, one for each Dark Souls game, and they contain all the flavor text of those games. Awesome. So they're basically lore books, and I thought that was so cool, but I can't read Japanese. But Future Press released all 3 of those books as a book. It's excellent. Like the Dark Souls trilogy compendium. So
that's awesome.
I jumped on that.
I should get that.
Have fun getting it now.
Yeah, I know. The collector market is just fucking
it's ridiculous, insane. Yeah.
But yeah, the other end of it that I was going to say about the Digital Foundry stuff is apparently the best running version of the game is a little unexpected. Playing the PS4 version on a PS5 is the best way to play the game.
Oh, okay.
Not even the native PS5 version. The PS4 version on a PS5.
So is this PS4 with the upgrade, or is it native PS4 but on a PS5?
Native PS4 on PS5.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. It's PS4 again, but it runs on a much better machine.
Yeah, and so like the frame rate.
Yeah, they're not pushing it. It's just PS4, but it's on a much better computer. That makes sense. It's just a little weird because you'd think the version designed for the system would run better, but a lower performing game on a high performance machine, like, yeah, that checks out.
Yeah. So, but that's as of right now. Of course, they're going to improve the performance of the game as it goes on.
Yeah, Souls are pretty famous for having patches.
But I mean, apparently it's not even that bad. It's not like as bad as some other launches have been. So like,
oh no, yeah, like my favorite is still Dark Souls 1 on PS3.
Oh jeez, yeah.
That was a 1080p game. They patched it to not be. They patched it down to 720 because they're like, this isn't happening.
Yeah, especially Plague Town, right?
Blighttown,
that's what I meant.
Yeah, that is a big open area with a bunch of enemies that, like, if you get into a fight with a couple creatures at once, the stutter is real.
Absolutely. Well, moving on from that, the other big news from earlier on in the week, and we were kind of like right before the announcement of this.
Yeah, I was going to say the news came out like an hour after we finished recording our podcast.
But Street Fighter 6 was of course announced during that. There was only like a teaser.
Yeah, it was Ryu and I forgot the guy's name, like Leo or something, but like the MMA fighter that
he's
new to Street Fighter 5.
Character. Yeah, a newer character, and he looks a little battle worn compared to his Street Fighter 5.
Yeah, it looks like time has passed.
Yeah. So he looks like he has some like scars. But yeah, I mean, apparently the big announcement about it was that it was being run on RE Engine, which isn't a surprise. And,
that is pretty crazy, though. Like, oh boy.
Well, RE Engine is their in-house engine, so why wouldn't they use that?
Well, they should use the SF engine. It stands for Street Fighter. RE stands for Resident Evil. It's a completely different game series. Is Street Fighter 6 the first person? I don't want first person in my fighting games.
I mean, even Shovel Knight runs on Unreal, which is really funny when you think about it. But I mean, of course, excited for that. But we hope, of course, that it's kind of a return to form. There were several prominent fighting game people that thought that 5 wasn't as good as 4.
Well, and not only that, but 5 had a pretty famously bad launch because there was no arcade mode.
It's very bare bones.
And they established it specifically, like they really wanted to cater toward the tourney crowd, completely forgetting that is a significant minority compared to the amount of people that play the game casually, which is lots. Yeah. So the majority of people who would have played Street Fighter are like, what is this? What are you doing?
The character is Luke, by the way.
What did I say? Leo? Okay, Luke.
Yeah, but close.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're the only two characters, but come on, we know who's going to be included.
Yeah, there's going to be more than that, but they were the only two in that little, 20-second video.
Chun-Li, Ken, and Guile are going to be in there, no problem. All the people from Tube, basically.
Well, what I'm also excited about, by the way, is that another reason Luke is going to look way different is that Street Fighter 5 is a prequel game. So Street Fighter 6, if that's present day, that is a major leap.
Yeah, it would be after 4. 4's the canonically last one, right?
Well, maybe.
Is 4 before 3?
I'm not 100%. Possibly. I don't know if 3 or 4 comes afterward.
Okay.
But because 5 has.
When does Street Fighter 0 happen?
Alpha.
That is the Japanese name for Alpha, by the way.
Yeah. That took me a second. Yeah. But because 5 has G, the president of the Earth. And it's implied that guy got transformed into Q. One of the endings of Street Fighter 3 has Gil mention the G Project, which nobody knew what that meant, and they never explained it. And then, like, over a decade later, like, Street Fighter V happens, and they're like, oh!
I mean, who cares about the story with Street Fighter? But
Well, that's kind of cool, though.
It's more fun than it ever used to be, too, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Street Fighter 2's story, like, was just whatever.
Yeah. Fight people.
By the way, do you know the other big thing people are talking about with Street Fighter 6? You've probably seen it.
I'm not entirely sure because I've seen a lot, but go ahead.
The phoned-in logo.
Oh yeah, so
it's like a stock image for $80, but with a little 6 on the side. Like I am assuming that was always designed to be a placeholder. It's just weird that they released that. Like, they're like, give them something. If that's not a placeholder, then oh boy, did you think we wouldn't figure it out? Like, I mean, I didn't, but like anyone who looked into it did.
Yeah, that intern that came up with that is fucked.
It's just like you're taking your letters and you're putting it in whatever it was, like a hexagon or something. Like, that's been done with many things.
Yeah.
And the little 6 off to the side, it's like not even part of the logo. Like, did you see Night Dive release their shade on it?
No.
Oh, it was the funniest shit. They were like, great. Check out our new logo for the upcoming System Shock 3, and it was just SS with a little 3 on the side, and you're like, oh god. It was very funny.
Night Dive is like my favorite developer. They're just amazing.
And they're like accessible on Twitter. Like, Stephen Kick, the CEO, will like your tweets.
Sure. No, they're really cool. In fact, I do have some stuff for them coming up that I forgot to add to the
list. I forgot to mention that. It went out just today. Again, the day of this recording. I guess you might as well bring it up real quick before going back. But Shadow Man Remastered, they're doing a physical for it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that because they're also doing like an N64 looking cartridge dealie.
Yeah, which is pretty cute. I still like now. Like, it took me way too long to play that game. I only played it a few years ago, but upon playing it, I was just like, this went on the N64. Holy shit! Like, that is a dark game.
Yeah,
it was fucked up.
I mean, they released the best versions of those old games that didn't run properly.
This is like. Well, a lot of people were saying this is like.
Way better than they ever used to.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying this is like an ideal remaster because they try not to touch the games that they remaster, except to modernize them in like HD widescreen. But like, they try keeping things as clean as possible. They're not like, oh, we're gonna make it from 2D to 3D. Like, they try to keep it authentic. And the Shadow Man remaster is that, except plus the cut content from an original version. It's like, that's really like, if you're a purist, it's like the same game with the stuff that would have made it into the game but didn't. Like, that's like, if you're that kind of person who wants like a 1-to-1 remaster, that is the one for you.
Yeah, they even kind of did that with the original System Shock. They gave you vanilla if you wanted it, but they had all the implemented fan hacks. Which is really excellent. Which still, the game is not the easiest to play, even with those, but
it's easier.
It's way easier, yeah. And I don't know. I'm just a big fan of their attitude. They seem to be in tune with the community. They tend to, like, with Doom 64 and Power Slave. They, in particular, basically just licensed and made official fan projects. So
yeah, I've mentioned this before.
I find that really awesome.
I've mentioned this before, but they never remaster console stuff. They exclusively do PC stuff. But wait, Doom 64 wasn't on PC, but yeah, the fan project. So they did a PC version that didn't officially exist, but it does now.
Power Slave is a Saturn, the Saturn version of that game. So I mean, they are doing stuff like that. Did Turok 2 ever come out on PC? I thought that was a console-only game.
I'm not 100%. Turok 1 definitely was on PC. 2, it probably was, because I don't think it made that same kind of...
I know 3 wasn't.
3 and Rage Wars are N64 exclusive. If they ever do that, that'll be freaking nuts.
But
okay, Turok 2 was on PC in 1999.
Okay, all right. But you know what I'm saying here is, like, they're just lovely. They make everything better.
They did D the game and fucking Harvester like anybody was asking for that, and I have them out that I must scream, and they brought that stuff back.
They tried to do No One Lives Forever, but yeah, didn't pan out.
Yeah.
They got a cease and desist from Warner Brothers when they tried it. But yeah, the other part of the news, which is actually kind of what I predicted, because they were teasing a bunch of Capcom, like all kinds of Capcom characters,
Yeah.
Capcom art, along with the teaser for the countdown. So, like, we knew something big needed to happen. So it was either going to be Street Fighter or something of that caliber.
Not Soul Calibur though.
But not Soul Calibur. But I was also speculating that there was going to be some kind of historical value of what they were going to be talking about. So the other half of this was actually really, really awesome. And I'm really excited for it. I'm actually more excited for this than Street Fighter 6, but that's just the kind of gamer I am. So they announced Capcom Fighting Collection. This will be the third collection of this era. They did a Street Fighter collection, which had every Street Fighter game, I think, up until that point, which is really impressive. And then they had Capcom Arcade Stadium, which was honestly one of the best arcade collections that they've ever come out with. But one of the glaring things about the Capcom Arcade Stadium was that it had a lot of really great, like, obscure shmups that Capcom hardly ever recognizes or re-releases. Like, it had 19XX, which has never gotten a console release, 1944, which has never gotten a console release, and both of them are amazing. They're really, really good. Especially 19XX. I really love that game. And also Pro Gear, which is a cave shmup that Capcom published. That one has never gotten a console release either. So they did some really neat stuff with that collection in particular. But the only fighting games that were on there were Street Fighter games, and like I understand that it's like Sega having a collection without any Sonic games on it is going to be, not... They need to have them there to attract people.
You got to have at least Sonic 1 and 2.
Yeah, exactly. So, but they are doing this Capcom Fighting Collection, which is excellent. It has a lot of games that normally don't get released.
And 5 of them were Darkstalkers.
Yeah, so Darkstalkers hasn't had a console release since PS3.
Yeah, like that was like a digital collection, I think.
It actually did have a physical release at least in Japan.
Okay.
But the weird thing is the Japanese version and the US version were made by two different companies, which is really bizarre. They did the same thing with the Dungeons and Dragons beat 'em up collection. I don't know why they did that. Why would you contract two specific emulator companies? I don't understand. But anyway, so it's going to have Darkstalkers, the Night Warriors, Night Warriors, Darkstalkers Revenge, Vampire Savior, the Lord of Vampire, Vampire Hunter 2, Darkstalkers Revenge, Vampire Savior 2, the Lord Vampire. So the way that these work is Vampire Savior's Vampire Savior 2 is the third game. But yeah, Vampire... I don't know how these work.
It's 5 Darkstalkers games. It's every Darkstalkers game.
There are 3 Darkstalkers games, and these are their various incarnations. Like
it is pretty cool.
They how it rolls with fighting games. They have iterations. So
yeah, like BlazBlue. Like, have fun keeping up with that.
Yeah. So like you'll have the original game. Okay, so here we go. The original game was called Darkstalkers: The Night Warriors, so that's what that is. And then the next one is Night Warriors: Darkstalkers Revenge. That's the second game. And then Darkstalkers 3 is is Vampire Savior. Okay. And then Vampire what is Vampire Hunter 2 though? I'm confused. Yeah, it's just the different versions of all these games. So
Yeah. So that's half of the 10 games, right? 5 of them are Darkstalkers titles.
But the next game is the by far the most interesting title. This one is their only fighting game to never get a home release, which is really interesting. It is a game called Red Earth, or Warzard in Japan.
Yeah, Warzard. The only time I've ever seen Red Earth representation on a home release was a couple of characters are playable in Neo Geo Battle Coliseum. It's like the Witch and...
I thought it was Capcom Fighting Evolution.
Was it?
Yeah, I think it's Capcom Fighting Evolution.
Whatever. It's one of those games where it's just a bunch of weird mashups.
Yeah, exactly. So this game is
Neo Geo, because Neo Geo Battle Coliseum would be Neo Geo, wouldn't it?
That's an SNK mashup game.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
It maybe SNK versus Capcom, MVCKS, but I don't think so.
No, it's not. It's not that.
SVCKS, I meant. No, I'm pretty sure it's Capcom Fighting Evolution.
That makes more sense.
Yeah,
I got the wrong franchise mashup thing, but still, that's all you got, and you're like, who are these characters? So yeah, Red Earth. It's a pretty cool game, and the gimmick is you level up as you advance.
It has beautiful art, pixel art, some of the best that Capcom's ever done. It is also has the distinction of being the only Capcom Play System 3 title to never get a home release. All the other ones have had. So to give an idea of what was on Capcom Play System 3 was what was it? Marvel vs. Capcom 2, the 2 JoJo games, and the 3 Street Fighter 3 games, and then this game. So I don't think there was anything else. So yeah, that's Capcom Play System 3. So it's just really interesting that out of all of them, this Capcom was like, we'll dig that out, and that'll be a cool thing for the nerds to pick up on. So I'm certainly happy. Cyberbot's Full Metal Madness. This game is awesome. It's really, really good. It's a mech one-on-one fighter. It is where Jin from Marvel vs. Capcom
that guy that I'd never heard of.
Yeah.
This giant robot fist comes off the screen as a special move, and you're like, what is this?
Yeah, Jin. But yeah, it is a very beautiful looking game. It is the sequel to the beat 'em up mech game that was in Capcom Arcade Stadium. What was that game called? I always forget. Cyberbots, yeah. Full Metal Madness, yeah. So this game is a lot of fun. It hasn't had a home release since the Saturn. Sega Saturn, and so yeah, it's the sequel to Armored Warriors. That's what it's called. Yeah. So yeah, I'm really happy about this. And the lone non-fighting game is Super Gem Fighter Mini Mix. So that's exciting. So everybody loves Gem Fighter. Gem Fighter is a lot of fun. So that's a Puyo Puyo style like puzzle battle game that is a lot of fun. And Mr. Ryu is particularly really good at that one. And let me see here. Also, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. That's it.
But, that's the one he's good at, yeah.
I'm sorry. Super Gem Fighter is the fighting game based off of the super deformed versions of those characters.
Oh, that's amusing.
From Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. So, yeah, it has the fighting game and the puzzle game associated with that mini brand. And Hyper Street Fighter 2, just because, why wouldn't you include that? So yeah, that Hyper Street Fighter 2 is I don't know why they wouldn't include Super Turbo, because that's like the last one, or Ultra would be the last one, but either way, Hyper Street Fighter 2. I mean, everybody loves Street Fighter 2 Turbo, so that's pretty awesome. So yeah, what a wonderful collection. And the details about this are even better. So apparently, not only are they going to do a physical of this, which is very much welcomed, but every game will have online rollback netcode, which is a fantastic thing for them to tell you up front. So like, unless games have rollback these days, like everybody really, like, is pining for that because it is so much better than the traditional netcode for fighting games. So everybody loves rollback. So apparently, yeah, this is going to be done right. So that's I'm really excited. I'm really excited for this. It's going to be certainly something I will pre-order because I just love getting collections physically. I think that's always really cool. And it has some really nice looking art of like a mashup of everybody on there, including some nice character art for Wars art or Rhetoric there. So I'm excited about that. The next piece of news here. So let's take a look. Oh yeah, you broke this one. I'll let you talk about it.
I mean, this is super quick.
Yeah.
The next Call of Duty game is not coming out this year because they usually have yearly releases. It's being delayed for a year. So that'll probably honestly be a relief. Like, give the developers time to breathe and give the freaking Call of Duty players time to breathe. You don't have to keep pumping everything out, like risking it being half-baked when it does come out.
Not only that, but Microsoft can of course add their own touches to that project, so they can ensure that it is done the correct way, and released properly. Again, I think that game is going to become like a game as a service eventually, because why wouldn't it? It's just people would pay for it. The people who play Call of Duty, some of those people don't play anything but. There are some people that will buy a video game system just to play Call of Duty, and I'm not exaggerating. Like that might be the only thing they buy all the time. So I could see that easily happening. And another big piece of news: a new Shin Megami Tensei game was announced, Soul Hackers 2. So that's pretty surprising. That they're the next one that they're going to release is a sequel to
like a DS game.
Well, it was originally a Saturn game that we had never gotten, and then it came out on 3DS. But yeah, a lot of people really liked that game because it was like commentary on the internet at that time, like the late 90s, early, so it'll be kind of funny what exactly they're commenting on. Kurt Collada, friend of the show, and the guy who runs Hardcore Gaming 101, was speculating, it would be kind of cool if it was a commentary on social networking, and how demons are probably living in the social networks, which would be phenomenal. But we don't know if that is the case yet. But usually, Shin Megami Tensei games tend to have some kind of social commentary underlying each game, and even the Persona games even tend to have that. The last one was all about like toxic capitalism. 5 was about toxic capitalism. So yeah, I'm always down to entertain a new Shin Megami Tensei game. So. And also you brought this one up to me as well.
Yeah, the Bethesda launcher is being retired, and games that I guess that you had bought that would have run on it will instead be launched via Steam. To which I say, fucking good.
Yeah. So I am only on the Bethesda launcher because they made me get on it because I pre-ordered like Doom Eternal like physically, so they made me put in the code to the Bethesda launcher, so yeah, that was a bummer. But yeah, I mean the less of these useless launchers the better, and Microsoft is very cozy with Steam, so with Valve. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't eventually buy them. A lot of people forget this, but Valve is a mom and pop shop still. They are not publicly traded. They are basically just run by Gabe Newell. I'm sure they have private investors, but they, the whole thing is run by him rather than, having to answer to shareholders or anything like that. He just does what he wants. So there's something to be said about that, and something that's really cool. And also his philosophies flow all the way through Valve, like the openness to the platform kind of stuff. Also basically allowing you to publish anything as long as you don't break a few pretty understandable things. Like you can't have sexual assault in your video games that you saw on there. As a thing to do. It can have commentary on it, but condemning it, as part of the story, but it can't be like an act in a game. There's very few things that you can do in that game, on a game on Steam that will not allow it to be publishable. So he's an advocate of freedom of speech in that way, and anti-censorship and all that jazz. But also their philosophies having to do with hardwares and stuff like that is also in there. Their HTC Vive and their recently released Steam Deck are all flow from that. So I gotta hope that eventually, when they are run by a larger company, or they are run by somebody different, that they will uphold those things. But I can't see a world in which Microsoft wouldn't want to buy them eventually. It just makes too much sense. They are the primary platform for PC gaming. It is the place to go. So I'm happy about this, because I could take one more launcher off. With the Windows launcher is the Games for Windows Live launcher. I don't have to deal with anymore. I don't have to deal with this one. Hopefully, eventually the Ubisoft one will go away, because the Ubisoft one's particularly annoying. EA Origin I don't expect to go away, but I wish it would. That kind of thing. But I think if we just had GOG and Steam and Epic, that would be plenty. Honestly, I barely ever use Epic except when they have extremely good sales, which sometimes they do. They just gave me $10 to spend on whatever I want, just for being on there. I mean, and they also give out free games all the time. So I mean, how can you turn that down? Yeah, really interesting. You brought this up. I didn't even look into it.
Yeah, this is bizarre. There was a company. I gotta look up what it was.
Square Enix. That's
it might have been Square Enix. Yeah, they were looking into Gex, of all properties in the world. Is there gonna be a Gex revival?
Is Dana Gould involved?
Wait, Dana Carvey, you mean?
No, Dana Gould is the voice of Gex and always has been.
Gould.
Yes.
Okay. But yeah, it's Gex's whole thing was obnoxious pop culture jokes that were dated when they came out, because they were made by 50 and 60-year-old men. So the children playing this game be I don't get any of these jokes.
Yeah.
It was a very bizarre decision.
Gex is a series that time has forgotten, because honestly, the first game is the best one out of all the ones.
The one that was only on 3DO. It's not. I mean, you could get it on GOG now, but
Well, it was a 3DO exclusive, and then it came to both Saturn and PlayStation after a while.
Okay, after a while. Okay, because a lot of what's disorienting is that the second game is called Gex Enter the Gecko.
Yeah,
that's such a first game in the series title, and it's just not the first game.
Yeah, it was kind of like a James Bond kind of parody thing going on.
Yeah. But it's a sequel. Did you even know that at the time?
And then the third one was Deep Cover Gecko, something like that.
Maybe, but at least it had the decency to call itself Gex 3.
Yeah. So, the one thing that was the same throughout them, well, the first game was a 2D platformer that was pretty good, and was funny, because it did have a real comedian as the voice of the main character, and wasn't too terribly repetitive. It was less repetitive than some of the other more annoying
Yeah,
quippy
like
games.
Donkey had a video that turned it into a meme where it's just like, this is just like having a party at James Earl Jones's house. You're like, what the fuck are you talking about? It was like line that wasn't the exact thing, but it's lines like that where you're like,
Yeah.
is that a reference to something?
No, it's just weird. And then the other two games were 3D platformers that weren't very good.
Yeah.
That were did still have the quippy stuff. So that was
Oh
the
yeah, well
reason I
that's
liked
what I
them.
was referring to. It was like Gex 2 that had those annoying jokes.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, I like the 13-year-old playing this game is not going to understand any of this shit. Like half the adults don't either.
Yeah. So like Time Has Forgotten It. I mean, it was originally made by Crystal Dynamics, which is owned by Eidos, which is owned by Square Enix, which is owned by Square, which is owned by Enix. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is that way. Enix bought Square. But yeah, yeah, pretty crazy stuff. Moving on, new Arcade Archives game is on Switch and I believe PS4 shortly, called Dangerous Seed. This is a really good shmup made by Namco at the time, and I believe the port of it contemporary at the time was to the PC Engine. So I did get a chance to play this game, and I do like it. It has some like body horror imagery, which is always fun in a shmup from that era, the early '90s, late '80s kind of stuff. So I'm really happy and really excited to look at this. Arcade Archives, Hamster has been releasing some really deep cuts of well-known companies. So I'm really happy about this. Namco Bandai is just releasing the floodgates. I mean, they even put out like New Rally X, and a New Rally X hardly ever gets published. Usually it's just Rally X and that's it. They even released Hopping Mappy, which is really obscure.
Mappy, that's a
The
serious
second
deep cut.
Mappy game, the second Mappy game that nobody plays. It's kind of like Dig Dug 2. Nobody plays Dig Dug 2.
Ironically, that was the one that I played.
Yeah, because it was on the NES at the time.
It was
but
great.
yeah, but it's not the one that anybody remembers from the arcade.
Yeah.
They even have Super Pac-Man, which is the true sequel to Pac-Man, which a lot of people don't realize. Miss Pac-Man is not a true sequel to Pac-Man. It just retroactively is. But yeah, crazy stuff. Also, this is a big surprise, and I didn't hear about it. I actually had to go digging for it, but this apparently happened this week. They announced a double pack of the Chaos Head and Chaos Child, and they teased that there would be an announcement forthcoming about the situation with the English release.
Yeah,
So,
I'm very excited about this because you've talked about the Science Adventures games a bunch. Steins Gate is probably the most famous one. It was considered a classic even back in the day, even in the West for the people who had heard of it. And we kept getting Science Adventures games. Like, at this point, we have the Steins Gate spin-off Phenogram game. We got the little NES.
and we have Zero. Yeah.
Yeah, we got Zero. We got the NES style like faux dating sim thing. We got Chaos Child already. We have that.
Yes.
We have fucking Robotics Notes.
And its
How do
sequel
you
and
not
the Elite
localize?
version. And the Elite version of
And the Elite version. How do you not localize the game that started it all? Chaos Head. It's been fan translated for years and years. How do we not have that game yet? I think we even got the anime too. So Yeah, this has been a long time coming. If they have an English release of Chaos Head, I will jump on it.
So yeah, this will be excellent. Not only is it an English version, but it's also the upgraded console version. We've only ever gotten a fan translation of the original PC release
That's
of
true.
Chaos Head. This is going to be an opportunity for us to have like all of the main titles plus many of the spin-offs. Almost
Yeah,
all
I
of
would
them.
like to play Chaos Head before Chaos Child.
Yeah, yeah. I to be honest, I haven't played any of them yet, and
Yes, same.
I started down the line of playing Chaos Head, but I just got distracted and fell off of it. But I am certainly gonna wait and play this on my Switch. I can't wait.
Yeah, I've never played
Yeah,
any of them either, but I generally know what happens in Steins Gate because I saw the anime.
yeah, yeah. But they do all basically have good anime adaptations. But
I heard Chaos Head was pretty mediocre actually.
oh really?
Like the anime. I hear the game is good, but I heard the anime was kind of disappointing.
Gotcha, gotcha.
I don't know about Chaos Child and Steins Gate Zero. They didn't get anime, did they? It was just the games.
I don't know if they did. It's pretty obscure.
All right, and Robotics Notes, I have no idea.
Robotics Notes did have an anime. In fact, it
Okay.
is used with the Elite version of that game, just like Steins Gate Elite is
Okay.
integrated with.
I mentioned
its
this
anime.
last time. I wish they didn't do that. If I wanted to watch the anime, then I would.
I mean, apparently, it does kind of make it the definitive way to play it because they do add scenes that weren't in the anime that would happen in the game.
Okay.
So there is unique content about it, and it doesn't interrupt anything or change anything. So there is a small omission in Steins Gate Elite, but apparently, like it's not a big deal. That kind
And
of
I
thing.
got the OG version and the new version
Yeah,
of
me
Steins
too.
Gate anyway.
I have them. I have them both, so I'm happy. Moving on. SNK surprisingly was asked during an interview, "Hey, you have a Card Fighters Clash game that you never released in English, and some people would really like to play it. What are you thinking about it?" And they are actually admitted to looking into translating and bringing it over as part of their Neo Geo series, their Neo Geo Pocket Color collection series. So that is really amazing. Not only are they reaching into their back pocket and picking out all these games that are really obscure, they were for a failed system that, while really good, didn't have many people who had played it or had an opportunity to play it. And so everybody is very, very, very excited. I am very excited that they basically put out every game that you would hope they would, individually and as a collection. They've done some really good work in working with Capcom and ensuring that they can release these games, and they also are emulated in the absolute best way possible. You can play them two-player in a proper like fighting game way, which you couldn't even do with the original system. So I am just so over the moon with what they are doing here, and I can't believe that they are even attempting to think about bringing a game like that over from Japanese. I mean that involves a lot of extra work. So I'm really, really, really happy. I mean, there's only maybe one or two games that I wish would get more modern releases, and I believe most of them are the two that I want are made by third parties for the Neo Geo Pocket Color. So one of them was Biomotor Unitron, which was kind of almost like a Pokemon-ish RPG where you had a robot that you bought parts for and battled through things, and Falsely, which was a kind of a very similar to like Front Mission, a grid based mech tactics game that was a lot of fun. And the only other one that there is an obscure ogre battle, Japanese only ogre battle game for the
Damn.
the Neo Geo Pocket Color.
I did not expect that.
Yeah, I don't expect that one to be released because that would involve cooperation from Square Enix, and I don't expect that. So, yeah, but I'm really happy that they are getting the obscure of the obscure for this kind of thing. Moving on for that, Weird Al made a surprise announcement on his Twitter today that he is working with a pinball company to release Weird Al's Museum of Natural Hilarity. I am really excited to see this thing. They did an overview of the table, and it is a Weird Al themed table. It has something like 12 of his songs licensed into it for different modes of play and different things that happen in it. There is a mini Harvey the Wonder Hamster that goes through it. There is just some really awesome celebration of Weird Al's history and biggest hits. Even White and Nerdy's on there, so I'm really looking forward to it. It looks
If you
like
get a high
really
score,
cool...
do you save the UHF station?
Actually, a big portion of the things that are all the props, I think they're called toys in the pinball language, but all of the plastic props that are included in a pinball machine are called toys. Almost all of the toys are UHF related.
Right.
They have the UHF camera in there. They have all kinds of different references to UHF, and I'm really excited because also the playing field is something that they've been doing recently with a lot of the newer tables. The playing field is actually a screen that changes depending on what's going on. So it's like a television that the ball rolls over. So that's really neat. And so there's some really cool ramps, some really nice ramp designs that I've never seen anything like them. In fact, so I was a big Weird Al fan when I was a kid. I used to collect his albums. I used to buy them all, and I was a big fan of UHF when I found out it was a thing. You got to remember that if you weren't paying attention during some things when we were kids, things could be totally forgotten unless somebody told you about it. There wasn't a resource, like Wikipedia, where you could just look up whatever fan thing. You sometimes didn't know something existed until somebody told you. My parents didn't know there was a Weird Al movie because it got totally murdered at the box office by Batman at the time.
Ironically, I think my first experience with that Weird Al might have been the movie. My brother got a hold of it at one point, and I was like, oh, okay. So it actually surprised me when I saw Weird Al in his incarnation. That's everything he's ever done except the movie. Weird Al in my head always had the mustache.
Yeah.
So Weird Al now, I was like, oh, that's different. But even though that's his more
the
prevalent look.
Probably one of the biggest moments for him was Bad Hair Day, which was the last album where he had his mustache. And then he shaved it with Running with Scissors, which was also a really big album. So yeah, the one with Amish Paradise is Bad Hair Day, by the way. That was when he became really, really popular. He's always been popular, but he really broke through as as somebody who had a major hit on his hands with Amish Paradise. So a lot of people forget about that. But yeah, Running with Scissors is one of his best albums, which is really awesome, and he changed his iconic look for that, and so he's looked basically the same way ever since. The guy barely ages. He's looked the same for a very long time, and thankfully, and he's not as old as you think he would be, being as I think in the late 70s, I think he came on the scene around in 79. He was like 18 or 19 at the time. So he's just he was really he became popular at a very young age. So he's just always been there. I have to say that Tacky is one of his best music videos. Definitely seek that out. I really love that one. You ever see Tacky?
I don't believe so.
That's his parody of Happy, Pharrell Williams' Happy, from the Despicable Me soundtrack. It's a very, very popular song. I don't know. You probably heard it, because I'm happy.
Don't know.
I'm sure you've heard it in, like, commercials and stuff like that. But anyway, it was everywhere. Yeah, Tacky was one shot. Like, it was a single shot, like, the entire music video. It was quite an undertaking, and it had just had a bunch of celebrities in it. It had Aisha Taylor, Jack Black, the guy who plays Cam from Modern Family in it, and Kristen Shaw from Bob's Burgers. Just like was really, really fun. I really love that video. You should definitely seek it out. But I definitely want to play this pinball table, so I'm really looking forward to it. It even has like the Alapalooza symbol in the middle that looks like Jurassic Park. Moving on from that, this one's yours. I'll let you go.
Yeah, this is a quick one. The Super Sentai TV series Zyuranger turns 30 years old. What is Zyuranger? That is what we know as the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, like the first season. So the Japanese original version of that has turned 30, which is pretty cool.
So the one with Rita Repulsa and all that.
Yeah,
stuff,
and the dinosaur-themed Zords, yes.
Goldar and Lord Zed.
That is Lord Zed. Lord Zed, I think, was actually made exclusively for America.
Oh, really?
I don't think he was even in the Japanese version.
Really? I didn't know that.
He was intimidating when he first appeared. But, yeah, what a name, Goldar. That's great.
And Rito Revolta.
Oh, was that the skeleton guy?
No, he was Rita's brother that showed up later.
Yeah, wasn't that the skeleton guy?
No, the skeleton guy was always there, though. I don't know.
No, he absolutely was not. I promise you, he was not always there.
Oh, okay. It was just Goldar for a bit, then?
It was Goldar, Babu, Squat. Why the fuck do I remember their names? Those are the big ones.
Who was the guy who made the things out of clay?
Babu.
Babu, okay.
Well, actually, wait a minute. No, that's not true. The guy who made the putties was a different guy, and I forgot his name, but he also exists, yes.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah.
And I've got a headache. After 10,000 years, I'm free. Wakes up immediately. Time to conquer Earth. Wastes no time.
I would like to go back and watch a little bit, but I would probably rather like to watch the original version, the Zyuranger. I would.
Well, remember that time the Yellow Ranger was a guy?
Definitely has a dick. You can see it. Anyway, I just thought this was relevant. This was also recently announced. New season of the Netflix Ghost in the Shell anime is going to be released in May. Ghost in the Shell has had many incarnations, but apparently this one's really good as well.
By the way, I just looked it up. The guy who makes the putties is Finster.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Of course.
I remember him being like a bird or something, but...
yeah, he had like... He wasn't, but he had like a beak nose, kind of.
Oh, okay. All right. There you go. And then, yeah, this one's yours as well.
Yeah, I don't know anything more than what it says in the notes, but Nier Automata is getting an anime. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so popular. It can be up there with the popularity of the Shenmue anime.
I heard the opening of the Shenmue anime, like not the opening theme song or whatever, but the opening scene, where the father gets killed.
Sure.
I heard that was changed in a way that's like baffling.
Really?
Like Chai was there. Do you know who Chai is?
Is that the his student that was always there?
Whose student?
Rio apparently Rio's father was training an apprentice at the time that was not
Well, yeah,
his
there's that
son.
other guy who's
Yeah.
always with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Chai is. Do you remember like the little guy, like the little bald fighter who's like the hardest fight in the game? You can win it, but you're supposed to lose it.
I don't remember.
Like, you are not making it to Hong Kong, and that guy fights you, and he's like half your height, and he kicks your ass. Apparently, he was like in the murder scene in the opening, which is like
Wow.
nonsensical because that guy's whole identity is like notice me senpai for Lan Di.
Yeah.
And there's no way he would just be with Lan Di's men. It's like, what is happening?
Wow, that's pretty crazy. Oh yeah, and this last one you brought up to me as well, but I had
Yeah,
heard
this
about
is
it.
a damn shame, but
Yeah.
R.I.P. to the comedy magician, the amazing Johnathan. That guy was great. Like, I hadn't seen him in a while, and it turns out there's a reason for that. He'd been performing in Vegas for like over a decade. He's just been like doing his thing in Vegas, and he hasn't been on comedy specials or stuff like that. Like, he did that for a while, but then he just kind of permanently stayed in Vegas. But I think he had heart issues, which was a damn shame. But that guy's act was great. He has a lot of really funny stuff. Do you remember some of the tricks that guy did?
Yeah,
That
so
guy did?
he kind of like Penn and Teller. He had a dark sense of humor with a lot of his jokes.
And he would take the piss out of the audience constantly.
Yeah, he was also known for like kind of revealing like how the trick was done, but like in a very casual way, like, oh, you know what I did here, like kind of
Oh
thing.
yeah. Where like one of his little bits is he has like a small piece of rope. Like, now some people use wires or magnets or strings. I'm not doing that. And then the rope immediately gets attracted to like his mic stand, and he just like awkwardly straightens it and then just throws it away. It's like, well, forget this. Like, it's like stuff like that.
Yeah,
Or one of my favorite bits was like a non-joke where he spread some cards in his hands in front of like a guy from the audience. So, ordinary deck of cards, right? And the guy's like, sure. And he goes, well, explain this. And he immediately starts waving them around and the cards are all attached together. It's like, oh, thanks.
yeah, he was also known for being like really quick and frenetic.
Yes. Like you like if you've
his
never seen
pace.
his act before, you have no clue where he's going next.
Yeah, he also tended to like do stuff that looked like it, like bloody stuff, like he would.
Yeah, like he cuts into his arm with like I guess it's like a fake arm or something, but like he really goes hardcore.
Yeah.
And then like because he has an audience member feel the knife. Yep, it's a real knife. And then he just like destroys his arm, and then he's like, now it's your turn, and approaches the guy. What one bit I really liked was when like you know how a lot of magicians do this thing where they tear up your dollar bill and then
Yeah.
reform it. There was one guy I saw in one of the specials where he's like, may I borrow a $5 bill, sir? And the guy's like, okay. And he's like, now a lot of magicians tear up the bill and then they do a restoration, but it makes the owner of the bill uncomfortable sometimes. So you know what, we're just not going to do that. And he just pockets it and just goes to the next thing.
Yeah, he used to be rerun on Comedy Central quite a bit.
Yes,
His specials. He was also on a lot of talk shows. Even
Yeah, I
even
didn't
since
realize
the
that at
late
the time.
80s. So yeah, he had been around for a really long time, and he was also, he's just really good at what he did. However, I don't know if you know the details about his personal life, but he was a massive drug addict, like a really bad one.
Like I did not know it, but like
You could
look at the
kinda
guy's
tell.
performance. He's pretty manic.
Yeah, no, he acts like he's on cocaine, and he most surely was.
Like, because I saw him on like a morning show where it's like, so what's your act gonna be? And he's like, well, it's gonna be like this. And like, man, he sounded so different from when he was on stage.
Yeah, so it took a really bad toll on his body, to the point where he had a really bad heart condition that generated from his he had been smoking, doing speed and doing meth. So like this was a thing. Like, he was addicted, and he was an addict, and he, like, everybody that he loved tried to get him off of it and all that kind of stuff, and it just never happened. But apparently, just like, a really gifted performer that, like, basically ruined his body. And the thing was, he was also addicted to performing. Like, he apparently was good with his money, so he wasn't in dire straits. Well, apparently he had lost all of his money at some point, but then had gotten some of it back. But I don't know what had happened there. But yeah, he against all doctors' orders started performing again. And of course, when you have a really bad heart condition, a stress of performing in front of a live studio audience is a really bad thing for you to be doing.
Well, and not only that, but
Yeah.
he's like by design, he's a frenetic performer.
Yeah.
And I think you said it on one thing, like, at least it shows on Vegas, they're like 90 minutes. 90 minutes of that, like, crazy shit. Like, whoa, like, that's hard.
Yeah, I'm sure his blood pressure was always through the roof, and he was, really damaging his condition even further. But yeah, so for those of you that don't know him, there is one of the most fascinating documentaries on a person that I've ever seen in my entire life, and this was made before he died. On Hulu. It was made about like 3 years ago. So apparently what had happened was he was given basically a death sentence, and like his heart condition was so bad that they say that he was going to die within a year. And he kept going. And he was still on drugs. Like he just kept going. Like nothing was stopping him. And he had lived for about 3 more years and was like, okay, well, if I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna go out, while still performing, even though, like, he was told not to. And he hired a documentary crew, and they filmed him while he was, basically self-destructing while he was doing this all, and still doing drugs and falling apart. And then like partway through the documentary, another documentary crew shows up, like another one that he had hired and didn't tell the original guy about, and he's just like, yeah, these guys are really good. They made this other documentary, so they're gonna do one too. And the guy's like, what the fuck? Like,
That's really bizarre.
like, what are we competing? And he's like, yeah, kinda. And and so, like, and because they had more resources than him, they were like a bigger outfit. They kept taking like better, like they would follow him to, his performances, and of course, when you go to a theater or something, there are only so many vantage points that you can film a documentary from, and they would be battling for the better spots.
That's insane.
To film him from. And of course the other documentary crew didn't want to cooperate with the other documentary with the existing documentary crew, because they were competition. So like they were constantly battling each other and telling each other that they can, like the existing documentarian just thought that this entire thing was fascinating, like doing that was like a crazy ass thing. So he was just like, oh, I'm gonna film the other documentary crew. This is just too good.
Yeah.
This is just like, who would do this? Like, who would fucking do this? So but the other documentary crew wouldn't let him film them.
Well, sure.
So he has to like black them out. And then after another like couple weeks of doing this and battling this documentary crew, a third documentary crew shows up. I'm not even lying.
That's great.
And apparently he was the original documentarian that he had hired, but like had been making it longer with him. So he's actually the original one. So he's there trying to finish up his job, which he had already started before the main one had started filming. So of course only the one on Hulu, I think, got released. But yeah, it's just fascinating. He smokes meth on camera. It's an insane ass documentary. I've never seen anything like it. And of course he didn't die until like 4 or 5 years later, after this thing released. So, really fascinating. And also the documentarian like that made the one that got on Hulu, was like, I don't know whether he was playing a joke on me or not. Like, it's impossible to tell. Like, did he just think this was funny because it does sound like it was funny, or is he just like a crazy drugged out person that had a lot of weird ideas, and nobody, it's impossible to tell. Like, he could just be bonkers. He could just be fucking with them because he thought it was funny. I just find the whole.
I mean, you never know, because like 80% of his act is just trolling the audience.
Yeah, no, like maybe he thought that this was like the funniest shit ever and would be a really funny subject of a documentary where like you have dueling documentarians, and it even distracts from the subject of the film, right?
Yeah.
Other than the fact that he was the one who orchestrated it, which
because like he's the kind of guy where like, you know, that joke that people did in middle school where they're like, oh, you got something in your shirt, like whoop, and they put the finger up to the nose. Like he just does that.
Yeah.
Like he'll do that to the guy he brings up on stage.
Yeah.
He did he got a guy like 4 times, and the guy was even ready for him a couple of them, and he still managed to successfully do it like 4 times across the act. It's insane.
Oh yeah, no, he was very talented, but very troubled person, and very unique. There's nobody like him.
Yeah, he's basically like, he does do some magic, and he does it well, but he's mostly a prop comedian that you're expecting to do magic. Like again, with the non-humor. Like, you know, when the magicians have the 2 big rings or hoops, now they're linked. Now they're not, you know, that thing?
Yeah.
It's like, here it is, the old trick of the Chinese linking rings. As you can see, they are already linked, so this saves us a lot of time. And he just tosses them. It's great. He just doesn't do anything with them.
Yeah, you're right. He's a prop comedian that masquerades as a magician.
Yeah, but he does have like legit sleight of hand, but like, but that's kind of like ever so often. Oh, he actually did a trick that time. It's great.
Yeah. In fact, they interviewed Eric Andre, and like Eric Andre's like he's like they asked him, you know, he was like a big idol of mine when I was growing up, but like
I am not surprised.
He's just crazy. He's probably like destroying himself right now. Like Eric Andre said that because he knew him, and apparently Carrot Top was like really influenced by him because he's a prop comic. So like they interviewed Carrot Top, which is probably
the
most
amazing
famous
Johnathan's been performing since
ever.
like the 80s.
Yeah. So like apparently he had the distinction at the time in Vegas of being the longest performing magician, like nonstop.
Yeah, he really kept going
in Vegas. So I mean, he's extremely talented, but of course it's very hard to see his downfall, because like if you watched his stuff in the 90s, his energy was just incredible, and you could tell later on in life he was losing it. He was losing his touch. He was obviously in a lot of pain too. Just like, and he was also like, because he was a drug user and also like all this stuff was happening, he's also like pretty like could get really abusive like too. So like I recommend watching a couple of his specials and then watching the documentary because it just puts everything in context. Definitely recommend it, especially if you have Hulu. But anything else, Lotus, that you wanted to talk about?
I think that's it.
Okay, that is the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs up, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Thursday for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on pretty much everything. Just give me a heads up, let me know how you know me.
And you could follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or getting in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
Wonderful. We will catch everybody then on Thursday.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.